I'm Bridget Lawrence. I'm 21 years old and my parents are billionaires. I live in a huge house on a hill and I have a big pool. I never saw my family's money as an advantage. Sure, we went on summer vacations to Europe, trips to Colorado to ski, but we were normal. My sister Anna and I fought over television channels and we stole things from each other as normal people do. My parents didn't talk about money. They never acted like we were mega rich. They punished us a lot when we acted like spoiled girls. I just had things. I thought everyone had the latest phone, the newest headphones, the latest in fashion, just as I was. Just a silly girl. I hadn't thought about it. I was a bit dumb and naive about it. Money was never an issue until I met Aiton. He was very attractive. He had green eyes and they were too bright to die for, and jet black hair. He wore ripped skinny jeans and faded second-hand t-shirts. For me, it was love at first sight. Aiton was very sweet to me. He called me baby and he told me that I was the smartest girl he'd ever met. We would go places and he would introduce me to everyone. He was so proud of me and it made me feel special. I was going to marry that boy. We went out and I didn't mind paying for the pizza at the restaurant. He had cash to spend, but it wasn't a big deal, but pizza turned into much more expensive meals. Buying him a t-shirt from a concert when we were going to a show turned out that I also paid for the tickets, or he bought me a drink and I let him pass. He had money, but he didn't. He said that he loved a girl who could treat his man well. I was flattered enough to buy him a new laptop and new clothes. He was always so grateful, so flattering, and I believed it. I think I would have continued to pay for forever if my sister Anna hadn't noticed that I'd taken money from my dresser. We fought over it, and I was desperate to prove my sister wrong. I took him to a restaurant and asked him to pay because I'd forgotten my wallet. He did not pay. He told me to call my house and ask Anna to give me my credit card details. When I asked him why he didn't pay, he turned red and told me that he didn't have that much money. I asked him to take me out to eat something that he could afford, like french fries or even ice cream, and he did. He took me and he told me that he'd forgotten his wallet, so I had to pay. Aiton still seemed like an influential person. He still kept up his game of looking smart, funny, sexy, or whatever. He still wanted to go places with me as long as I paid. He did sometimes, but most of the time he'd tell me that he didn't want to go because he had no money. He would tell me that he was saving for college. He would tell me that his credit card had been stolen. I left with an empty wallet. I knew it would freeze her, but Smile would turn to plastic and he would go on without me. Sometimes we would go out with my friends. He never offered to pay for me. I found out from Garrett that when I didn't pay, he convinced him to pay. Genius Tim also paid for him. He never spent a penny, and if I didn't pay, we wouldn't go out. And so it was in time he drifted away. I'd said no too many times. He stopped calling me baby and started calling me stingy, things like that behind my back. I heard rumors that he tried to date my best friend Fiona, and she told him he was a gigolo. After Fiona, he had more luck finding a new piggy bank. He dated Carmen D'Angelo. Her parents were nouveau rich, and she loved giving gifts to her friends. She threw amazing parties. She'd given me a Gucci wallet because her mother had bought her two. She was a sweetie. Anna told me that to try to offer Aiton an apartment, and I did, and he returned to call me baby again just for that. But I heard him talking with his mother over the phone and telling her that he'll have whatever he can from me, and I understood that his mother encouraging him to do so. I told my sister, and by that, I knew that he's manipulating me. He broke my heart. I was an ATM for that guy. When I ran out of money, he left, and I felt bad for Carmen. I decided not to stand there and decided to expose him in front of all my friends, just not to use anyone else of them. I set a plan to record our conversation over the phone when he was telling me baby, when I offered to buy him an apartment, and when he was calling me stingy when I'm telling him I'm running out of money right now. Also, I recorded conversations when he talked to my sister and tried to use her to buy him something also. Then I made a big party and invited all of our friends and Aiton, of course. And in the middle of the party, I showed them all the conversation and played our recorded one over the phone and exposed him in front of it all. He immediately run from the place and we never saw him again. Sometimes it's difficult to have things because you never know if someone loves you for who you are or what you can give. I guess I'm lucky. I learned early how people can really be. Now I only go out on dates with guys who don't know I have money or that they're as good as me. I felt guilty for a long time. How could I be so stupid? I let Aiton use me. I loved him, but he loved my money. So now, baby, he takes care of himself. Men haven't always been spoken of as gold prospectors. Kanye West's well-known album is unmistakably about a transgender. Gold diggers are usually depicted as females who are after a man's riches in film and television shows. We aren't taught as women to accept the possibility that anyone's after our earnings. In reality, we've been socialized to avoid making it seem as if we're after a man's money. We're frequently concerned that men are only interested in us for women. But what about the cash? Whether the woman is well known or holds a prominent role in society, that is, men don't need to know you're rich if you're not an actor or a politician. People will learn a lot from Google. It's painful and even risky to have someone date you for your earnings. Here are some red flags that he's just after your money. He gets so involved in the job conversations, such as how much you spend, how much you pay others, what you do, and so on. He's so invested that it's almost as if you losing money will have an effect on him. He uses inconsequential means to bring up his financial difficulties. He makes small remarks about being broke many times a day, even though he does so in a teasing way. He doesn't want you to pay for his life outright, but he does so implicitly. When you consider his dating past, you'll notice that he's mostly dated people who are much richer than he is. It's one thing to have one or two, but all of them? He also suggests outings and date night plans that he can't afford. If he really likes someone much richer than himself, he makes it a point not to mention anything she'll have to pay for. When you refuse to buy a new sound system or car that he recommends, he becomes visibly irritated. He was desperate for you to buy the thing for yourself so he could have it and flaunt it. When he hears that you're going to lend money to a friend or family member, he gets irritated and or curious. He considers the money to be his, and he's only with you because of it, so he doesn't want it to disappear. He spends a lot of time outdoors or behind closed doors taking calls. When you inquire who it was, he's squinty-eyed and clumsy. It was most likely a debt collector. Consider when you met. Was it at a bar where gold diggers are known to pick up candy mamas and daddies? Perhaps you've never considered yourself a candy mama and simply enjoy the bar, but that doesn't mean you're not a goal. When you really try to stay in on a Friday night, he looks frustrated. If you want to be alone that night, he'll be particularly disappointed because, hey, who's going to pay for his drinks out then? You must understand that proud, well-intentioned men do not borrow money from their wives on a daily basis. Gold diggers, on the other hand, would begin by asking for small amounts of money, such as $20 for this and $50 for that. The reality is that this man prefers to be a held man rather than live. So when you inquire about a job or whether he's made any attempts to advance, he becomes annoyed. He's still got this strange, far-fetched financial crisis, and it's never his fault. You'd think his financial woes were the stuff of comedic mafia movies. We're not allowed to mention this, but we're more concerned about defending you as a whole rather than just your emotions right now. You have to wonder if you're dating an underwear model who has other underwear models throwing themselves at him on a daily basis. And you're cute, sure, just not that, but you're loaded. You've mentioned retirement early or working less hours because you're exhausted. Maybe you want to go on a trip or write a memoir. He still tries to talk you out of making this decision, even when you say it'll make you happier. He still tells you that you deserve to be pampered because you work so hard. However, he is, of course, included in the massage, yachting outing, or oyster meal.